So I've made several videos on 373 versus 430s, and I wanted to share the one caveat. We're in Michigan, as you may know. We're empty. We're in 6th right now, going up this nice little hill right here. My truck is 373 gears, and I love them. Why? Well, most of what I do, they work absolutely perfectly. We are unloaded right now, which, this is about a 50-50 truck. I generally have something behind it about 50% of the time. It's also my daily driver. So, this road is M33. This is what goes to I-75, and it gets you to Mayo, among other things. And it's exit 202, for those of you who don't know. And 202 is fun for me and you. That's what we always say. This road is always annoying, and it's a good representation of what some other parts of the country that have foothills of either the Rocky Mountains or the Appalachian Mountains have to deal with. And also some of you guys in the Porcupine Mountain Range or the Rocky Mountain Range portion of Canada, and probably the eastern part, probably toward Quebec. I'm not exactly sure because I've never been toward Quebec in Ontario, but I'll tell you right now that there's some pretty decent hills going into Wawa in Canada. I was surprised by the topography up there, and I do know that that's the continuation of our Porcupine Mountain Range there. That is in the western part of the UP. These hills are not super common in Michigan. They're very undulating and very frequent. And I'll tell you right now, they trip up a 373 gear truck. This truck is on one step bigger tires, so that's not really the problem. If you have 35s or 37s, you're going to hate 373 gears if you live in foothills, because you've taken away some of the mechanical advantage that your truck has to propel yourself down the road. And even if you don't live in the mountains, which I think is definitely an indication that 430s is definitely going to be your chosen purchase if you live in the mountains. I just think that's a given. It's kind of like if you really live in the mountains, I really recommend a diesel because there's such an advantage of the exhaust brake. For those of us living in flat land, these undulations, which there's not that much going through Gaylord, going toward Mackinac City. But on the west side toward Traverse, there's definitely some roads that have similar. This is most likely glacial moraine. I am not a geology specialist. That's not my major. I do love geology. I wish I knew more about it. Pretty sure that this would be considered glacial moraine, of which there is some in Ohio as well. And certainly there's going to be foothills in, say, southern Ohio, getting toward the Appalachian Mountains, Pennsylvania, all that stuff. You saw when we were coming in that it kicked down to 6th gear empty to pull that hill. What at 55? What do you think it's going to do if I had 10,000 pounds behind me? It's going to kick down and it's going to burn some fuel and it's going to go up the hill. So, the goal is not always keeping the RPMs as low as possible, because the engine has to make torque. And yes, I'm wearing my wedding ring. I just got married, so this is a new thing for me, and I'm excited about that. So, the goal is to not always have the lowest possible RPM, because guess what? The engine probably doesn't make enough torque to always have the lowest possible RPM. We are going 55, which is the speed limit on this road. It's pretty well patrolled. A lot of other parts of the country have 50 and 55 mile an hour speed limits. I'll tell you right now that 373 gears might not be up your alley if all you drive on is undulating hills with a 55 mile an hour speed limit, a 50 mile an hour speed limit. Why? Because you're going to be caught in between, for sure, not being able to hold 10th occasionally. Now, we just pulled that little hill. We probably won't pull this next one in 10th. I could be wrong. The thing is that it is very varied. I'll tell you right now that the truck is capable of just taking care of itself. That's not necessarily a problem. The transmission is going to stay cool enough, especially being that we're not overloaded. This truck's rated 18,000 pounds. That is what the cooling system is capable of handling. If you're under 18,000 pounds, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to stay cool. So these trucks have excellent cooling systems. You are putting some unnecessary wear on your truck, especially if you have a 250 with 355 gears and a gas engine. You may want to use manual option sooner than other people. I generally never use the manual option. It's only towing on this road and on a couple other roads that look like this that I do tend to use the manual function to lock out the higher gears. Usually just run in 7th, maybe 8th if I can hold it, and it helps to kick up the speed a little bit. I'm just warning you that the speed limit is a speed limit for a reason. My line of work, among other side things, is accident reconstruction. Your vehicle speed is absolutely relevant to vehicles that are looking to decide to pull out in front of you or adjacent or around you. If you're speeding, they're going to have to look farther down the road to see you because the time or the distance you're covering over the same amount of time is greater. So they have to look farther down the road. There could be obstructions, especially on hilly roads like this, where you're not even visible yet to that person because you're speeding. So this coming from someone who was a habitual speeder when he was younger, please adhere to speed limits. They're there for a reason. Now, on straight open areas, I think Michigan has done a lot better job at loosening up speed limits where you can see. Places with high traffic, a lot of side roads, a lot of merging and things like that, and especially when there's blind corners or blind hills, speeding can really set you up for failure, and I promise it'll be used against you. There is such thing as right-of-way forfeiture. In basically all states, as far as I know, there are statutes to right-of-way forfeiture, and speeding is absolutely part of that equation. If you're speeding, you might forfeit your right-of-way in certain situations. So please consider going a decent speed limit. Why do I just went off on that? The higher speed you can go, the more RPM you're going to turn for a given in a given gear, and the more torque, basically in all cases, an engine is going to make. You're going to make more torque the higher RPM you're turning. So the goal is not to restrict RPM down to a lower level. If, we've talked about this, if you live in Texas or another place that has very high speed limits, 355s might be right up your alley because you're going to be going 70 or 80 anyway, so you may as well be turning, or 75 or 80, maybe even 85 anyway. You're going to be turning up into higher RPMs. This engine makes a lot more torque, even though 7.3s have an excellent torque curve. Makes a noticeable amount more torque, 1,500 to 1,800 RPM, than it does at 12 to 1,500 RPM. It's a pretty big jump, and you'll notice that right away, and you need to downshift to get the RPM into the range that you want to have. So the end goal is not always to hold the RPM the lowest to get the best fuel economy, because it depends on what travel speed you're going and what load do you have behind you. You have a 10-speed. As far as I'm concerned, you should be able to use your 10 speeds. We have been able to hold 10s for a lot of this, so it negates some of my argument, but the better part of it was back there, and that's what made me think about how important this conversation might be. If I had a smaller trailer, you might be able to wing her up a little bit, but again, you're speeding. I'm doing 55 right now. That is the max speed, and I recommend that you hold that speed. So think about that upon your truck purchase, because as I talked about before, getting a dealership to change your gears is basically not going to happen. Right now, as far as I know, no aftermarket facilities can re-gear a Sterling 11 and 11.6 or an M235. Those gear sets are not available to them yet. They do not have the parts to be able to do a bearing swap, because they're not going to usually change out anything without doing your seals and your bearings at the same time, or they're not going to warranty your work. That's pretty standard practice with ring and pinion shops, and it's not a bad idea to look at it that way, because once it comes apart, it may not go back together in a way that's not going to cause issues with bearings. Generally put new ones in. So, or seals. Get the right truck in the first place. If it requires you ordering or waiting to find the right one, and even if it bumps up your price, I absolutely promise you, getting the wrong gear ratio is going to make more of a difference to you than just about anything else. You won't really remember that you don't have a seat heater after a few days, but I promise you, if you need 430s and you bought 373s or worse 355s for some people, where I live with 55 mile an hour speed limits, I don't want 355s. I, in hindsight, sort of wish that I had 430s. The problem is that 373s do so well across the board. The times that they're not perfect, like right now, I wonder if we're going to pull this hill without downshifting, we'll see. The times that they're not ideal, it makes so little difference to the end result of the operation. Generally speaking, it's one gear to go from 373 to 430. So basically, if I was going to kick down into 9th, which might happen here, we will watch and see, it would be the RPM that you would run in 10th if you had 430s. It's not a huge change. And when you have 3 overdrive gears, the longer you can hold those overdrive gears, in my opinion, the better. You may as well be able to use the darn things. So take that for what you will. and hopefully that helps you in your search. 373s definitely work really well. It doesn't stop me from towing 18,000 pounds at all. I'll tell you right now that these undulating hills, you got to lock them out when you're at that kind of weight, because, well, I mean, you don't got to, but it helps. It definitely helps to lock them out. And I will say, too, when you're in tow haul mode, hauling that kind of weight, it's already locking out some stuff from you, so it helps. Instead of going from 10th to 8th or 10th to 7th, you're already in 8th anyway with the Mini behind you. So that helps a little bit. So for sure, this one, I'm sure we're going to end up kicking down. And I hate to keep you guys extra long, but I think it is worth doing. Look how pretty that is. We don't have a lot in the Lower Peninsula we definitely have some pretty views, but this area along here south of Mayo is definitely not the worst looking part of Michigan, in my opinion. I like seeing the woods up a little farther north in Michigan, and that's kind of where I like to be, a little farther north. But Mayo has, of course, the Ausable River, which is amazing. Lots of camping opportunity around here, lots of beautiful views. If you ride motorcycles or have, cars that you like to go on a drive with, like a long drive, it is a really nice place to be. So, highly recommend it. I will say, too, that the 7.3 does a lot of things that a gas engine generally wouldn't do as we pull this hill without having any trouble, any downshifts. I can't say enough at how much I like this engine. This is a gas engine that isn't annoying to deal with. Generally speaking, gas engines, you have to make a pretty serious compromise in everything you do to save that money. I do not feel that I make that same compromise in this truck, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much. So, I hope you guys enjoy the video and the talk. See if it applies to your situation. If it doesn't, carry on. Take care, all. Have a great day. And remember to subscribe if you want more content about 7.3 gas trucks or about truck towing use in general, land work, equipment, chainsaws, clearing land, food plots, all kinds of good stuff. I try to make, and power sports, of course, I try and make a whole bunch of different videos for a wide range of audiences, and I appreciate all of you guys greatly. So let me know how I do down below, and if you have any ideas for future videos, please tell me, because I absolutely do take them and try to make videos out of your ideas, because a lot of you guys have posted excellent ideas. Take care all, and have a safe day.